Congratulations.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see. Go ahead.
Amy, you look so glamorous.
Thank you. I had to go with the 20s theme. We have our party paraphernalia, and I'm already
Starting?
ready.
Okay.
Deb, are you reaching for yours?
So I have to do this virtually.
You have to do this virtually, yes, from the office. They would probably frown on that.
Yes.
Let's see. I'm going to open it up. I think we've got a group here. I'm going to let a couple more I still see connecting to audio, and as soon as they get in, we'll get started.
Hey, Deborah.
Hello, Valerie. Star of the show.
Oh, that's me. Oh,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
thank you so very much. I'm just thrilled and honored and excited.
Observed.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I see a couple others that are still coming in, but I'm going to go ahead and kick it off. I'm Amy Wheelus, and I'm honored to be able to be the host for this thought leadership session and to introduce Valerie Freeman, who really truly needs no introduction to the technology community within Dallas. Valerie is our Hall of Fame inductee for 2020 for Tech Titans, and we're so excited to have her here, and she's got her big trophy there beside her. For those of you who may not know, she is an accomplished entrepreneur who, in addition to building businesses from the ground up, she pays it forward in Dallas and across the globe. Her reach stretches far beyond the bounds of Dallas and Texas to other countries and around the globe. And so we're so honored to have her here. I'm going to ask Valerie to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about all of the different things, because who better to do that than her?
All right. Well, thank you, Amy. And I want to go back to the late 70s briefly, because I thought I wanted to be a college professor. So after graduate school, I moved to Dallas, got married, moved to Dallas, and I went to teach business subjects at El Centro College. And while I was there, this IBM, and I had the opportunity to buy equipment for our business division. So I was always looking at typewriters and all kinds of equipment that we were using at the time. And so one day the IBM guy walks in and he goes, "You've got to see this that we come up with." And I went, "Well, you know, bring it up here." He said, "I can't bring it up here, it's too big." So I go to the IBM office, and what do I see but this big old piece of hardwired metal that would do almost nothing, and except form letters and long documents. And so from that point, I was hooked on technology. And back then, if you can even remember that far back, people were scared to death of technology. There was no technology like this in offices ever. And so people were going, "I'm not going to use that. That's a fad. No, that's just ridiculous. I'm not doing that." Well, plus businesses couldn't afford it. A lot of businesses couldn't afford it because it was expensive at the time. But it rapidly changed. And then I ended up really writing the first curriculum and teaching the first classes for what was called word processing managers and operators and so on back then. And at the time, word processing centers were being set up and to process all of these documents that they could do at the time. So it was sort of revolutionary, really, when you think about it. And so it rapidly changed after that to magnetic cards. I mean, people would have rooms full of shoe boxes with magnetic cards in them that represented different documents. And Lord help you if you dropped one of those boxes. And then it went to floppy disks and so on. So I had left the district because I wanted to train people, place people, and consult in this new emerging technology. And then rapidly it went into, I realized the same thing was happening in commercial art, where artists now, commercial artists, could ply their trade with the new software and hardware that had come on the market. So did the same thing. This business was called Art Squad. I also started computer-aided design and A+ CAD, computer-aided design and drafting. I started a computer training center. So everything in my world back then was about training and placement and consulting in this new world of office technology. So at that time, I wasn't involved in the major big time systems, but I guess it was about 25 years ago that I partnered with Andrew Jackson, who many of you know, and we started BravoTECH, which allowed us to really understand the other side of computing. And also, I partnered with Art Squad became Freeman Leonard, and Freeman Leonard does a lot in the digital marketing area. We place people, but we also do a lot of consulting and work and strategy in that company as well. And then I started, I guess it's about 15 or 16 years ago, a company called Answer Team, which is a managed service company where we had to develop the technology, the contracts and the processes to be able to perform staffing and services with big companies throughout the US. So that's sort of how it started and where it's ending today, except that along the way, a friend of mine came to me and said, you know, there's no money's going to women-owned businesses. You know, no, women-owned businesses don't get any capital. So let's think about what we can do about that. So there were 4 of us that started Texas Women Ventures and Texas Women Capital to offer money to firms, that women-owned firms that were growing. So as of today, we're finishing up with our 3rd fund, and we've really invested millions of dollars in different women-owned firms. And so I'm really proud of that because that was really difficult to do. We were the first company in Dallas, probably in Texas, I think, to start a fund just for investing in women. And what was hard about it is that women always have difficulty with raising money and understanding about money and finance. And so a lot of women didn't even see that as an option. They didn't even see that they really could grow their businesses so much bigger and so much faster if they had the capital to do so. So it was not just investing in these women, it was trying to educate the community about investing directly in companies. And that was a hard road to hoe at first. And the thing that kicked us off, we raised, I don't know, maybe $4, $5, $6 million. And then we had a meeting with Ray Hunt, and Ray Hunt gave us $2 million and an endorsement. And so we were able to raise the rest of the money that way because we had some credibility through Ray. So that's sort of my span of things. Currently, in addition to the staffing companies, I also started Prime Women Media with some other friends of mine that are of my age. And it is all digital content for women over the age of 50. And it's the same thing. We were sitting around bitching and moaning about the fact that women over 50 don't get any play anywhere. And there's so many things that happen to us after we reach a certain age. So we decided that we would tackle that and try to make a difference with women who are so much different than our mothers were back in the day. So that's sort of my trajectory on the businesses. I've always been involved in community work, always, from day one, I guess, even when I was in college, because it's hard. It's really hard to run a business, and any of you that have a business know this. It can be very taxing on your psyche, and there are things that you can't discuss with your employees. And so where do you go to get relief? For me, it was community work. And, I loved it. I love networking. I love meeting new people. And so it just sort of fit in with what I like to do. So, what's wrong with going to a nice meeting at night and having a glass of wine and getting to chit chat with your colleagues? So, when I went back through 38 years of press clippings and things that I had done over the years. Oh my gosh, I didn't even remember some of this stuff. I've been on so many boards and have sponsored so many events. And it was just kind of an eye-opener to see that. I probably learned, I don't know, I probably learned so much from leading nonprofit group than I have in my own business. Sometimes I think that. You learn a lot when you run an organization, the nonprofit, let's say, where you didn't hire the people and you can't fire them. So you have to learn how to get the job done without that hanging over your head or their head. So it was always a learning experience for me along the way. And of course, I'm a big proponent of education too. The community college district where I got my start, I ended up on the board of the foundation for 27 years. They finally put in term limits to get rid of me. But anyway, it's just fabulous. And not just the community college district, although that is, the cheapest education in town. It's fabulous. And then all of the universities we have here. I've served on a lot of their advisory boards in technology and in business, and there's nothing like education to help get you ahead. Now, when I talk about women, of course, I was in the late 70s, early 80s. That's when the majority, this big bubble of women started businesses. And the reason they did is because we realized we weren't going to go anywhere in corporate America. It just wasn't going to happen. So why would we do that we hated when we could start a business and probably be just as successful, even more so? So all of these women started businesses, but the problem was we didn't know what we were doing. We had no credibility. And so we didn't know what we didn't know. Well, we ended up, a woman from Illinois, I think, moved here, and she had started in Illinois, but it was a nationwide organization called the National Association of Women Business Owners. And I went to the first meeting along with many other of women business owners. And I mean, it saved our lives. We learned so much from each other, and we supported each other. And some of those women are still my very best friends today. Most of them are either retired or they're doing something else with their lives, but it was a lifesaver for us. So we didn't have anybody to help us back then. Men weren't, they looked at us like we didn't have any credibility, and I guess we didn't. And so they were really reluctant to put any sort of support behind us. And so we had to do it ourselves. So as time went on, and today, I would say in the last maybe 5 or so, 6, 7 years, we realized that, we've relied on each other. We've done well. We have some support from some men, but we need the men. We need their help. And now we've got some credibility, and we've proved ourselves, and we're doing well in our businesses and our corporate careers. And so let's bring men into the picture. And quite honestly, they were glad to come, and they've been glad to help. And so it's a completely different dynamic than it used to be. Now, of course, there's always going to be the naysayers and the critics and so on. But basically, that's what's changed for diversity and inclusion. And that will continue to change. The focus now on D&I, and especially what I've been looking at is women of color that really need support, and they need mentoring, and they need education. And so that's a concern. Us white women are getting that, and we're rising to the occasion. Now it's time for us all to come together and help our minority community. And so we have concentrated on that. Alliance of Technology and Women has really stepped up to the plate on that. Tech Titans, I think they all have, all these groups have, because they realize, finally, we've all realized when we really sit down and think about it, that having a diverse group of people in your company, in your management group, on your board is a value. It's a competitive advantage. So I know that we're not up there yet. We're certainly not equal on boards or in management executive offices, but we are making probably more strides now than we've ever made. And part of that is the role models that we have. You know, those of you, I see a bunch of you here that are role models for younger women and give those younger women hope that, yeah, I can do this too. When I started, the condescension that I got from a lot of people was really hard on me. I mean, there were a couple of times when I come home and I'd be crying to my husband about those mean men. They don't really think I can do anything. Well, you know, it's up to us to prove them wrong, and also for them to realize now in this day and age that everybody matters, and it's just not one gender or anything that has all the great opportunities and information. So I feel like going forward, I would like to see this movement toward diversity and inclusion not go away, not just as so many things have in the past. I know for women, there were things when we thought we were on a path to, you know, really change the world, and it just petered out. So we don't want that to happen with diversity and inclusion. We don't want it to stop with looking at women's opportunities. You've all heard that that in this pandemic, it's hurt women and minorities the most. And I think that's sad, but I also see that flexibility in working from home, can have a positive effect on women in the workplace. In that we don't have to worry about, well, we do now because of education, but you know, we can stay at home, have our families, figure out a way to make it work where we don't have to spend all that time going back and forth and feel like we have to be pressured into that working in the office. So so anyway, what do you all have any questions, or would you like to go on to another?
Valerie, I do have a question. You have been at the forefront of technology, finance, and societal issues for a long time. So please tell us what's next.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay, here's something that I think needs to take place. I would like to see more women, more people of color, and more men actually start businesses. I feel like all of the, or not all, but a lot of the new ideas come from entrepreneurship. And it's really hard. When I started in business, there was nothing. No universities had any classes. There was literally nothing. And so now we've got the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, the Capital Factory, yada, yada, yada. I could name off a dozen of them that are helping people to start businesses and be successful in those businesses. So they're having to learn to raise money. They're having to learn how to put together a good management team. They're having to learn all these new skills that are going to help our economy. I mean, these big companies, like look at American Airlines and some of these bigger, all of the big hotels and so on that are shedding thousands of jobs. What are these people going to do? You know, they got to be equipped with skills that they can use to start a business. So I've seen a lot of that starting to happen, and more needs to be done. more money, more education, more opportunity for everyone to be able to do that. Now, I realize it's really hard. I mean, it really is. And, you know, I never know when I get up in the morning and go to work, what's going to happen. And you have to be really flexible if you're going to be a business owner. But the rewards are great. And it makes you get, it gives you a feeling that you're indestructible. You know, that it doesn't matter, like right now, to me, you know, this is a pandemic, it's terrible. But there's an end to it. It's going to come. If I can just gut it out with my staff in the next year or two, we'll be fine. So that's what happens when you're the one that's leading the charge, and there's no corporate entity to save you, so to speak. So that's what I think. I mean, I'm talking about entrepreneurship, but I think that's the next thing that needs to happen, and I think all the other things need to be ramped up as we go. I see a lot of things in terms of technology. Oh my goodness, there's more out there going on in technology with new software and new ways of doing things, and all this artificial intelligence and all this stuff. It's mind-boggling. You just can't keep up with it all. But the main thing is that you look at, for our business, we're looking at technologies that can make us more efficient. And I think every company's doing that. We can be more efficient with technology. It's not a scary thing. It just takes time. Everything takes time. And we're trying to accelerate that. And it's been hard on our employees because they're having to change and learn so much in a short period of time. And there's so much uncertainty. So the uncertainty, along with all the new technology that they're asked to learn, is very disconcerting for them. And so right now, you know, if you're going to lead a team, you've got to be empathetic, and you've got to really think about where these people's heads are at, because you don't want them to do something they shouldn't because they're under too much stress.
It'll be recorded. Yeah. So we have to go through, so we're in there. Oh, and
Yeah, for sure. Could you please, if you're not asking a question, would you mute your mic? But if you're going to ask a question, feel free.
Hey, Valerie, congratulations. I'm Kate Hopkins with AT&T. And hey, nice to meet you and hear your story. I was interested in the point you just talked about and empathizing with your employees, but yet having to push them through change as well. How do you balance those two things, and what are some of your techniques of getting the employee base behind you for this era of rapid change?
Well, right now, the good news is that they're seeing everything around them. They know what's going on. They know it's time for change. They get it. It's just that even though they get it, you know, are they okay with it? And some are not okay with it, in that they are concerned about the uncertainty. It's the uncertainty. And I think it affects all of us. It affects me, the uncertainty, and who knows what's going to happen. So being empathetic, you know, usually in a business where you've got sales, you know, you're focused on sell. Well, you can't do that today. I mean, not in the way you used to. So it's really important that you keep the discussion going. We meet, well, I meet with our groups probably once a week, but our managers meet with their groups once a day, sometimes twice a day. And the message is, how are you doing? You know, and every Friday I send out kudos, where we talk about the good things that every group is doing, and we give kudos to people for good performances for that week. And so it's all about motivation and pumping people up. This is great. You know, I always give them some kind of little thing about to try to motivate them. like every mountain has a top and every problem has a lifespan, because you want them to know that you're behind them and you understand that it's tough out there, very tough. And it's not their fault. They did nothing to bring this on. So we're going to get through this. And we also talk about, none of us is as good as all of us, because it takes a village and it takes a team, and you got to stick together. And if you do that, you'll be just fine. So emphasizing that, and then of course the breaks. You got to have breaks. You got to do fun things, and right. You got to think of all these creative things that people are doing to break up the monotony of the constant depressing things that you see and hear on television all the time. And the election hasn't done anything for that. It's just like everybody's fighting everybody, and it can get a bit much. So you got to keep the spirits up. You got to take breaks. You got to do fun things, and that will help somewhat. And then of course, if you've got telehealth and ERP program, I can't remember the names of them, all of those programs that'll help, that they can call people and get help if they're really having a problem mentally. But usually if you're really close to your staff, you can kind of figure out who needs help. And so that helps as well if you know everybody, because they're all working from home and they're all doing this, right, that we're doing right now. And so, if they can share in the successes and talk about, the future in a positive way, I think that will really help a lot.
Well,
Do
Valerie,
we have time for another question?
real quick one.
Okay, I just want to say, Valerie, I don't know that I've actually got to speak with you in person. I think I've seen you at events. I'm Carolyn Murray with Moss Adams, and I'm so glad I'm attending this session today. I love your positivity. I think positivity is contagious. So wonderful. And this might have to be a further discussion later, but you mentioned being involved in numerous boards over the years, and I'm curious which ones you've taken part in and how you got there, because I think that's something I'd like to explore myself personally in the future.
I started out, I've started out in volunteering for the Small Business Council. I can't remember what it's called, of the Dallas Chamber. This was a long time ago. And, I just did so much on that council that I finally got recognized for it. And they asked me to be on the board of the chamber. And it started from there. It starts with, if you're going to be on a board, do what it takes to be recognized. Do what it takes to do the best job possible, because that's really why they want you on a board, and that's why you get recognized and asked to be on other boards. So that's really, really the key. Start in something you like, something you're passionate about. If it's Tech Titans or Tech Ball or ATW or whatever it is, volunteer, do the best job you can, and then you'll go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. I want to thank everyone. Speaking of having fun and positivity, this has been great. And it's time to go to the gala. The doors are opening. The virtual doors are about to open here. So go on, the link is in your chat there if you want to just click the link. And a virtual toast to Valerie again. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Valerie.
Cheers. See you all. I want to see you in person one day.
Yes.
Cheers,
Virtual
Valerie.
hugs.
Back at you.
Bye.
Hi, thanks, Amy, also.
Yeah, thanks, Amy.
So Valerie, I can see you've managed, oh, did she go? She's gone.
Gala. Our theme for the evening is the Roaring 20s 2.0. So it's going to be a rip-roaring good time. It's really going to be the cat's meow, the whole shebang. And so it's going to be a rip-roaring good time. It's really going to be the cat's meow, the whole shebang. Shall we? Everyone grab a drink. 1920s phrases. So let's bring it back to 2020, shall we?
There you go. You're